Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton Agenda Wani secara langsung dari studio Wani Bukit Kewangan Kuala Lumpur. Kerap kali kita membicarakan tentang pelbagai perkara dalam Agenda Wani tetapi membabitkan pakar-pakar antarabangsa. Khazanah Megatrend Forum misalnya baru berakhir semalam, forum data raya data besar ataupun big data week untuk MDEC juga semalam berakhir. Dan malam ini saya suka kerana saya boleh menghubungkan semua yang kita cakap itu dengan relevannya di peringkat tempatan, relevannya di peringkat tempatan keluar kembali ke peringkat antarabangsa. Dan tujuan saya bercakap demikian kerana jarang saya boleh mendapat syarikat yang tonggaknya berada di luar, akarnya berada di Malaysia dan hasratnya global. Dan itulah syarikat Serba Dinamik. Tahniah kepada orang-orang Sarawak kerana ini adalah syarikat akar umbi asalnya dari Sarawak tetapi kini diterajui oleh mereka yang pelbagai walaupun core ataupun tim yang dalam tu masih lagi ramai orang Sarawak. Salah seorang yang bukan orang Sarawak adalah saudara Roslan Osman, Naib Presiden Projek Khas Serba Dinamik Holdings Berhad. Saya tengok tadi kalau pasaran saham, wah tinggi juga. Mana syarikat lain, Serba Dikir kodnya. Tapi malam ni kita nak lihat, saya rasa sudah 2-3 kali saya berbincangkan Serba Dinamik, tetapi lebih kepada kapasitinya sebagai syarikat pembekal perkhidmatan dalam rantaian bekalan petroleum ataupun minyak dan gas. Tapi kali ini saya juga ingin melihat apa lagi yang ada in the repertoire of Serba Dinamik ni dalam pengkhususan yang ada. Dan saudara Roslan adalah yang terbaik kerana special project ataupun projek khas. Tapi sebelum itu mungkin macam mana orang lahir kat Negeri Sembilan, sekolah kat Negeri Sembilan, pergi belajar kat Stern Business School in US tapi boleh kerja dengan syarikat Tegar Sarawak ni.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you for having me today. It's a long history, but I think I joined Serba in June 2016.
Okay.
But prior to that, I'm a banker at heart. I started my career as a banker with OCBC Bank. Being a banking industry, you move around. After with OCBC, I joined Pugera Afin Merchant at that time. Now it's known as Afin Investment Bank. So I was there for about 6 years, mainly specializing in debt capital markets. Somewhat that seek challenges, at that time, Islamic financing has grown. So I move on to another entity, which is Bank Muamalat, to gain further knowledge and experience in Islamic banking. So I stayed there for another 6 more years in that sense. There's a challenge calling upon me that there's an opportunity opening up in Middle East to join a newly set up investment banking. So I took that challenge, while I think at that time I was quite comfortable in the banking industry in Malaysia. So I told my family, pick up the bags and let's go. So cut short, took 6 years before I move on to another entity. But with that experience in the Middle East, and local network, I joined another setup which is based in Kuala Lumpur, which is Bank Muamalat Indonesia. It's an Indonesian-based bank. So with that network, it helped me to actually expand Bank Muamalat Malaysia Indonesia business in Malaysia. So during my course of career as a banker, I met a lot of clients. So one of the clients I met is Serba Dinamik, which is also Datuk Karim, one of the founder of the company. So I've met him in 2010. We have kept our relationship very close to my advice to him on funding, financing, and structuring. So prior to his IPO exercise, we sat down and he asked me, would you mind to take another challenge, which is to join his company because he's going for IPO. Of course, at that time, I'm quite comfortable where I'm at. So, and once again, I took up the challenge, and I think, that's where I joined Serba Dinamik, prior to the IPO, and, helped the company to its listing debut in August this year.
Serba Dinamik went for listing at a time when a lot of players globally were quite hesitant about the oil and gas industry. Put it that way. I'm not putting it as a bad thing. I'm putting it as, and this show, again, Awani has interviewed Sheldon Adelson, the founder of Las Vegas Sands, who invested $5 billion into the Singapore market when the markets were down, because that's the best way to go up. But for Serba Dinamik, what was it that, luckily my first job was in the bank.
I see.
So bankers are very used to true, tried and tested, standard operations and SPIs and procedures and that. But what gives you the confidence? What in Serba Dinamik give you the confidence that, hey, this is a company, this is a Malaysian-based company with overseas operation that I should be in? What kind of prospect were you looking at?
Okay, it's a good question. I think, you know, being in the banking industry, you met with a lot of people, a lot of clients, different industries, oil and gas, power, water, you know. But one person stood out, you know, which is Datuk Karim. His commitment to the company, to the business, to his work ethics. You know, that was in 2010, where the company was still small at that time. But, you know, being a banker, you see there's a potential, you know, in a company that can grow, you know. So that's why I think, as a person, you know, you have that connection, you know, at that point in time with the founder of the company, you know, that one day this company will grow up very fast and, you know, it's going to go very big. So when he asked me to join him, you know, it's not about trying to assess, you know, the industry, the market, but I'm looking at the person itself. Importantly is to have somebody driving the business.
Because the market and industry globally, you know already.
Exactly. At that point in time, people are telling me, why are you quitting the bank? The oil and gas industry are in bad shape, you know. But I look at it differently, you know. Sat down with the founder, Datuk Karim. He explained his business. You know, and with this explanation, you know, it becomes clear to you that, you know, this is a different company.
It took you 6 years for Datuk Karim.
Exactly.
If I were to have a chance, I've only known Datuk Karim about 1 year. Let's see. Let's go for the first break, but once we are back, I want to look at the special projects role. Once you change hat, sometimes you have to hit the ground running, especially because Serba Dinamik, I don't mean this in a bad way, but they are more known globally rather than locally. I'm sure you get that all the time if you balik Seremban dan sebagainya. Tapi kita nak tengok apa yang Serba Dinamik buat selain minyak dan gas ni ke depan, because all of us have got to network and move together in a very challenging, very competitive global world right now. Right after this break. Negeri Sembilan born top-level executive in the financial world globally, not just for Malaysia. But Saudara Roslan chose to go to the other side now. He joined his client practically. Serba Dinamik is a fast-rising entity. Go and check Serba DK on the local bourse and you see how much of a darling stock they are since their debut not so long ago. Now I'm seeing them being quoted going all the way up past RM3 value. So that's a lot of faith just by the financial market. You know financial markets very well. But now let's talk about after oil and gas, which is the bread and butter for Serba Dinamik. That's not enough. Now you are in, you are solely tasked with looking at the non-oil and gas. So what other than oil? I know there's water. Right?
Exactly.
I heard rumors about broadband, internet, or whatever else. I don't know. These are rumors, so I want to get the clear picture from you.
I think just to add to that, it's a conscious effort by the shareholders. I think because if you look at the owner, the founder, you know, they always look at few steps. You know, so in that sense, you know, they feel that with the fluctuation of the oil and gas industry, you know, they need mechanism where they can sustain the company.
Okay.
Company is going to go big and bigger. It is important to have an avenue for different kind of revenue to come into the company. That's where the special project comes into place to identify within the scope of engineering, within the scope of the expertise of Serba Dinamik. So we are not saying that, when we talk about non-oil and gas industry, we can go everywhere. But we are very focused in that sense. Like you rightly mentioned that we are now into water treatment. We are also in power generation. I will touch a little bit as far as these two sectors concerned. We are currently undergoing a project in Kota Marudu, Sabah, which is 29 megawatt. Is currently progressing very well. Work on site is currently, I would say, on schedule. This is one of the so-called diversification that are taking place in Serba Dinamik. So we are used to having contracts, maintenance. Now we are asset owner.
All right.
Not just asset owner, we are also the EPCC contractor at the same time. Along with that package, we are also the O&M, which is the operation and maintenance operator for the project. So, it helps in that sense that we have the full spectrum of the business now. Instead of just looking at one segment.
It's almost end-to-end, isn't it?
It's almost end-to-end, exactly. And we're also looking into water, which we replicate the same model in what we do in power. We are the asset owner, we are the EPCC contractor, and potentially we also will be the O&M, which is the operation and maintenance operator.
A lesson learned for many executives. Sometimes when they put in the silo of a business unit, the spectrum is just based on the business unit. But the wisdom that you have, thinking from the financial side before, meaning before you go and present something to the board or to the CFO, you already know the points that you should be presenting. So anything that you look at will already coin the financial side ingrained in the DNA. How much of an advantage is that? Because if I bring this discussion to a regional Asia level, China, for all its might, is still having to look at specific mechanism just for end-to-end financing. Hence AIIB, the Asian Investment Infrastructure Bank. So for Serba Dinamik, how do you look at this combination of wanting to grow, build new revenue streams, at the same time keep the cash flow and the solidity of the financial aspect?
I think if you look at the model that we are trying to actually push in Serba, I mean, the oil and gas business are very solid. They have been there for the past 23 years. They've been growing very fast. And what we are looking now is more of a concessional-based revenue streams, which is stable. We are talking about power generation. You're going to sign a PPA of 21 years. That itself, helps to cushion some of the economic downturn.
And it provides stability.
They provide stability to the group in actual fact. So this is the model that we are trying to introduce in Serba and basically try to balance the risks that we are looking at as far as the oil and gas industry.
Having said that, and I want to park this before we go for the second break, I just came from the big data thing and the mega trends thing. So 85% of the jobs that we see now would probably not be around in 5 to 10 years. This thing called fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0. How would you, being one of the senior leadership of Serba Dinamik, be looking at this? Because if everything is going to be disrupted, then at least you must park or hatch your bet of the future somewhere now rather than later.
Sure. I think, that goes back to the point that why are we having another set of sectors other than oil and gas? This is a conscious effort by the shareholders to make sure that the company still sustain, company still in a good operating shape, the company can still continue in whatever condition the market pose. And it's also important for us to try and actually go into industry that we are familiar with.
Or at least leverage back.
At least leverage back to the expertise that we have. Not necessarily go into something that for the sake of going into something, you know. So that's why I think for my side, it is important that I choose carefully as far as the new segment of business that Serba is going, because it requires commitment as far as manpower, capital, and also support from, you know.
Cool. I want to go to the break, to the last break with this. A few days ago, there was out in the media interview with Datuk Karim, where the question asked was, what do you want to accomplish in the next 5 years? His answer was, to make my company, Serba Dinamik Group, a global name among the top 10 multinationals companies of preferred choice. I mean, that's a very, very ambitious but solid target if you achieve it. So, having been in the financial services and financial investment kind of a background, and now with providing service and also starting to have your own assets and stuff, how do you think a Malaysian-born company way in Sarawak, making it way in the Middle East, now wants to go into the top 10 preferred choice of a multinational? I don't know, the benchmark is whether ASEAN, but I'm going to let you coin that from your perspective, so that we can share the journey, not only that, but also the wisdom going forward for entrepreneurship in this country of ours. Because not just Serba Dinamik, if the country were to be sustainable going forward, we must increase the way we accumulate and create wealth. Right after this break will be the answer. This is the end of the year, and PT3 is coming soon, and that's SPM and STPM, and this is the day and age you not only have to be looking at your results, but already imagining whether you want to be a salaried worker or you want to innovate and partner great institutions of the country. And I say that because entrepreneurship is more and more of a chosen discourse nowadays, and we're looking at high technology areas also. Serba Dinamik is one institution in the country that encompass all that I have come across. So Saudara Roslan will now tell us the question I put to him before this, the top 10 preferred choice of a multinational company, Serba Dinamik being there. I'm all for it, because it's not easy to find champions from Malaysia at that level, apart from the Petronas of the world. So how do you interpret what Datuk put?
I think, I mean, being in the oil and gas industry, we deal with a lot of multinational company, you know, Fortune 500 company. You know, we set our standards very high in that sense. With that standards come expectation also, for us to actually try and grow together with the standards. A lot of discussion that I had with the owner, especially Datuk Karim, you know, he always mentioned that, you know, I want to be like GE one day. You know,
I can identify.
You know, what is GE? GE is all over the place. You know, they are in different kind of industry. You know, you're talking about power, oil and gas, even in finance, in that sense. So, you know, you know that he has set the bar very high for us, what we need to achieve. And we have a very good fundamental in the sense that we are already out there. We are in the Middle East. We are moving out into Africa region. This is a new region for us that we expect to expand. And also we are looking at into Eastern Europe. You know, the confidence that we have derived from.
Would that mean the ability to not stay true to history, but if so be it, and the opportunities are there, maybe the component of oil and gas in the near future will be lesser than the rest?
That could be the situation, you know. But importantly now is to make sure that as a company, you know, we continue to exist, and not just exist, but we want to be someone that people can recognize globally. You know? So if we have to actually move from oil and gas to a different kind of industry, then we have to make that decision. And I think a concerted effort is being made now to make sure that we position ourselves when the time comes.
So size, quality and quantity would have to be ramped up.
Definitely.
Just like I gave the example of China in AIIB, there need also to be a financial, not only growth, but to come in, because there will be capex, there'll be infra, right?
Sure.
And there'll be more talents that will be needed.
Yeah, exactly. I think, if you're talking about talents, as a Malaysian, we are not lack of talents, we can see Malaysian are out there.
I keep hearing that, but
Yeah.
I have to ask this because you guys are at the forefront of what you do. Certain areas, I'm sure you can count the company that is able to do that kind of job, within one hand.
Yeah.
So, are you very sure that we are not lacking talent, that we can get that?
I mean, the issue is that talents are plenty out there,
Okay.
but the talents are with
Where
other
are they?
organizations.
Where are they? That's the
Exactly.
point. Okay.
It's not an organization which is built by Malaysians. It's an organization employed by multinational, by foreigners. So I mean, I was in Bahrain. Work with people other than Malaysian. So we can compete easily as far as.
It's not that we lack anything.
It's not that we lack anything, exactly. So as far as that's concerned, it should not be an issue.
So what is the issue that will be of sort of, if it's SWOT analysis, what will be the T? What will be the threat?
I see. You are talking about
for the benchmark that we want to set.
exactly. Of course, trying to grow big comes with the responsibility of making sure the funding are in place, the necessary support for you to actually grow are there in that sense. Of course, there's a lot of school of thoughts also in the sense that, I mean, if we were trying to go to different industry, for example, power and water, some people will say that, are you going other than your traditional scope of work? So this is probably some of the resistance that you will see. But we have to persevere in the sense that, if you don't do it, then, we'll be
one of the last key
behind.
points I want to make tonight. When China goes anywhere, even to all the countries and regions and continents we've spoken about, they go end to end.
Yeah, true.
How would Serba Dinamik build the capacities of others from Malaysia to go together?
Yeah. So these are the support that we need from the bankers also. At the end of the day, which we are lacking the way I see it at this point of time. You're talking about end-to-end by this China company. They go there with funding, with financing, with all the technical
Complete
expertise.
already.
Even the manpower they brought, from China.
Yes.
So, collectively, we need to actually put our effort together as far as we have the technical know-how. Obviously, technical know-how can take you so far. We need the support from the bankers, especially for us to try and penetrate new areas, like I mentioned just now, the African region. So these are the areas that we feel that the opportunities that we can actually expand the business. Right? So,
clear path ahead, blue skies can be seen, prepared for any dark clouds.
Exactly, yes.
But at the end of the day, the reason you joined Serba Dinamik is because you are very assured of the quality of leadership inside it.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. And I think let's inspire the young to look at more than the traditional areas. Serba Dinamik has proven they can do that. So thank you so much, Saudara Roslan, for making the time. We have to go and catch up on makanan Minang sometime and have that. But we won't forget mi kolok dan sebagainya. Sarawak is integral to Serba Dinamik. Keep on tuning in to Astro Awani. Ada banyak lagi yang kita cakap tentang Serba Dinamik ni kerana mereka bukanlah hanya satu syarikat, tapi mereka inspirasi untuk negara. Jadi hantarkan pandangan anda kepada Facebook, YouTube, Instagram Awani atau buat turun aplikasi Mulia iOS dan Android. Sekian, selamat malam. Terima kasih. InsyaAllah kita jumpa lagi.
Thank you, sir.